Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Thursday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and feeling great and waking up and having a fantastic start to your Thursday. Of course, it's been extremely active. It got very active last night once again. Tornadoes reported in Tennessee, northern Alabama especially. Things got pretty wild in the worst way possible. There was towns that were hit very hard, houses destroyed. I'm sure as the sun comes up this morning, we will see really the true extent of the damage. So, we're thinking of you guys. Certainly, we're praying for you folks. I never like to say, hey, we're praying for you guys and just shoot it off the hip. I think we've all done that at least once or twice in our life. I know I have. Not afraid to admit it. But definitely it's important to stop and pray for these folks, just like I always mention. And you guys know prayer is powerful. So let's pray for everybody impacted, not just from last night, but over the last several days and last few weeks. This has been a weird, severe weather season where it seems like it started off kind of slow, but things have just went haywire over the last several weeks. And we're here to talk about today. Today will be no different. It'll be very active. A very large enhanced risk is up for a very large area of the country, really the South. The entire South has an enhanced risk. And if you just heard that, that's thunder at my house. We do have some showers and storms at my house. It's been severe. We just have had round after round. So there you go. There's some live thunder action there. But here to break it down, guys, I want to tell you this video will be different for my folks tuning in from the rest of the country that's not going to be impacted by severe weather. This video is probably not going to do a whole lot for you. I'm about to go storm chase right after this video drops. And I'm heading down to Georgia, maybe as far as southeast Alabama to chase these storms you see on your map that's going to sag south. So I just kind of have to keep this a little bit short. And get on out of here before I miss the opportunity. So this will be a big storm chase for me. I'll be out and about. I'll give you guys updates on YouTube. But so we're going to cover all this. Quick note too, I had to use Pivotal Weather. I like using Pivotal Weather for looking at the ingredients and all that, but I don't like looking at it when it comes to looking at the short range model guidance as far as these storms. So it's going to look a little different. It'll still get the job done. It'll still help you folks out. So We'll work our way through this. As you can tell, there's not a million tabs pulled up, so this will be a little bit shorter and right to the punch here. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. Thank you all for the amazing support lately, all the kind words. It really doesn't go unnoticed. I promise you, I read every single comment. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. So this is what we got going on. This is where the most active weather is right now this morning. We have, and I don't want to ignore this, we have flash flood warnings ongoing right now. Just a ton of rain has fell over areas of Tennessee. I mean, a lot of areas, not just Tennessee. But we have this Boeing line of storms blasting through North Georgia right now. And we got to watch this. We got to watch this convection starting to develop down here too in Alabama. But the thing that we're going to speak heavily on in this video, what forms down here? Some of the short range model guidance has discrete, semi-discrete supercells forming down here in Alabama and Georgia. That'll be something to watch for an increased tornado threat. But no doubt this is going to move in regardless. This line, Boeing line of storms, is going to sweep through all of Georgia, most likely. And of course, we're going to get storms in Alabama too. And I'm watching another complex of storms that's going to develop later tonight that's probably going to blast through areas of Texas, Louisiana, and eventually Mississippi. So a lot going on, guys, but this is a closer look at what's going on right at this moment. Excessive rainfall outlook, there is a slight risk. This could get upgraded to a moderate risk. But this entire yellow area, at least a 15% chance of rainfall exceeding flash flood guidance within 25 miles in any given location. So we can't ignore the flash flooding threat, that's for sure. But let's jump right to the Storm Prediction Center outlook. Please note, I'm making this literally, it's around 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 6 a.m. Central. So some of this information could change. I don't expect this to be upgraded to a moderate risk, but I could see individual outlooks being upgraded, and I'll talk about that here in a second. Enhanced risk stretching from the low country of South Carolina, Atlanta, all the way through the rest of pretty much Georgia, points south, right through, Alabama, Mississippi, Shreveport, southern Arkansas, and Texas. I want to show the broad look first because I don't want you guys to think I'm ignoring you folks in the Mid-Atlantic, but there's a slight risk that goes all the way up to the Washington, D.C. area, and there is a chance of a tornado up here. So I actually just want to look at the tornado outlook and the wind outlook and the hail just at this broad look, and then we'll zoom in just for you folks up here. 2% risk of a tornado. You see how there's a detachment right here? Surface low will fly through this region. This will enhance the kinematics, and we are going to have a tornado risk in this 2% risk area. So be aware of that if you live in the Mid-Atlantic, Central Apps region, even all the way into southern Ohio. Okay, wind threat. 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour down here. I'm going to talk about this here in a second. And then the hail threat, 5% risk. And here's that second. Here we go. Zoomed in look at the highest risk of severe weather area for today. Enhanced risk all the way from the heart of Texas, low country of South Carolina, and everybody in between. Dallas-Fort Worth area, Shreveport, Monroe, Louisiana, Jackson, Meridian, just about down to Hattiesburg, Montgomery, Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, down to, trying to think of some different names, Dothan, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Atlanta, everybody points south in Georgia, the rest, Macon, Columbus, pretty much all the way up to Augusta, Georgia, Savannah, low country of South Carolina, not quite down to Jacksonville. This could extend a little bit further south, though. Then you got the slight risk in the yellow, level 2 out of 5. And then the marginal risk, dark green, level 1 out of 5. So what is this driven off of? Well, this is what I want to talk about. This could change. In the brown area, you have a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles at any given point. Okay? I think, personally, you're going to get a bump up to a 10% risk either somewhere in Texas or either somewhere in maybe southern Alabama, southeastern Alabama, and southwestern Georgia. It might not happen. I know a lot of people say in the video a couple days ago that you called the high risk. Guys, I didn't call it. I think what a lot of people don't realize is I'm very active in the weather community. And, there's a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me, and I'm not afraid to admit that. And when I start seeing them getting very highly confident on something like that, then it boosts my already kind of previously thinking on it and gives me confidence enough to actually say it in front of an audience, which is you guys. Plus, right after I hit the upload button, the Storm Prediction Center issued basically an outlook saying they were going to upgrade it. So, it wasn't Mitch being a rocket scientist and some super smart dude. I mean, I know my stuff with the weather, but now this, nobody's discussing this. I will admit that. That's just my take on it. I think that you're going to get a bump up to a 10% risk. This is going to be a hatch risk. I don't know. But maybe in one of those two areas, maybe both, maybe neither. But regardless, pretty large area runs the risk of a tornado, right? Columbia all the way to the heart of Texas. All right, heart of Texas. I like to say the heart of states, but the central section of the state that I'm particularly talking about. This is the wind outlook. All right, we're everywhere. Yeah, wind outlook here. All right, in the entire red area, 30% chance of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. Yellow area, 15% risk of that. In the black outline region, there's a 10% risk of significant winds, which means 75 miles per hour is a 10% risk of that. Damaging winds is a big deal today. Okay? Hail outlook, it's the highest in Texas because you have your most storm energy, your higher level cape, higher levels of cape. But I could see this getting extended, maybe a red area issue, maybe in Alabama, Georgia, if confidence increases on some supercells developing here in the next several hours. Red area, a 30% chance of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. Yellow area, 15% risk. And in the black outline region, that's a 10% risk of hail exceeding 2 inch in diameter or larger. Chance of significant hail. Okay, so I know you folks in the Mid-Atlantic probably thought I was going to ignore you. I'm not. Here we are. So this is what I'm talking about, pivotal weather. I love looking at Weather Bell when it comes to this stuff. I don't like the color layout on this. I just don't. It looks very muted to me, sort of just blurred, if you will. But this is all we got. It still shows the same thing, the exact same model output. So I want you to really focus your eyes on up here, not down here. We'll talk about this stuff here in a second. So as we were making our way through about midday, here's that surface low cruising through Ohio. Not a whole lot going in the Mid-Atlantic right now. But as we start to get to the afternoon hours, there's going to be some storms. There's one storm firing up here in Virginia, kind of north of, Richmond, south of the D.C. area. Storm firing up here. We got to watch these storms up in Ohio. And then as we start to get to later this afternoon, you got to watch these storms in West Virginia. If you live in West Virginia, be aware later this afternoon, this evening, for these storms. You're right up against the surface low. Kinematics will be the best. And you could definitely get a tornado or two up in West Virginia today. I wouldn't be surprised if they issued like a 5% risk in that area. But I doubt it. We'll see. And then we start to get to more so in the evening. I don't think the surface low is going to be right in here. It's probably going to be more so up here. But you see these little storms forming kind of right off the east side of the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia, the foothills. these tend to do crazy stuff right off the east side of the mountains in Virginia. So be aware of this, and this is starting to get right when the sun's setting. These storms right in here in Virginia that I know are very hard to see. That's why I don't like Pivotal Weather's setup with this. A lot of people use this, but I love WeatherBell when it comes to really zooming in the states and things like that. But you see these pockets of yellow and orange. And if you're wondering why I'm not using WeatherBell, it's because it's slow. Something's wrong with it right now. I thought it was my internet, but something's going on with the site and it's really lagging. But these cells right here in Virginia, you just want to watch out for those. And this is around 8, 9, 10 p.m. And then they'll kind of clear off into the Delmarva. And after midnight tonight, you'll pretty much be done with the severe risk. And if you look at the updraft Felicity swath, remember, and this is just another way of looking at it here. Remember on WeatherBell, it looks a little different. But you see these little slashes right here? This indicates rotation with some of these storms that could develop over the next several hours into the evening hours. And as you can tell, you got some areas in Ohio, West Virginia, and Virginia in here. Maybe even like areas in Maryland too. Okay, so you got to watch out for some spin-ups in this region for sure. Then you head on down to the deep south. So I think that, the radar is handling this pretty well. If you go back and look at actually what's happening, all right, this is what's happening. You got some nasty storms knocking on the doorstep of Atlanta. And you kind of go back to this, it's doing pretty well, right? So let's move these storms further in time. As we get to about mid to late morning, you see all this convection forming in Alabama? I mean, this is like before lunchtime, man. So these are these storms that you really want to, pay attention to. You see how they're kind of discrete? They're not really a bowing line of storms anymore, kind of broken off. These are the ones, there's jet fuel down here. A lot of fuel in the atmosphere, very moist air. One thing you're lacking is low-level kinematics, which is what you need really for tornadoes. There's enough there, but there's not a lot to support a major tornado outbreak or anything. But that could change. Regardless, I don't think it'll change to that, but it could change enough to where you could have a higher tornado threat, especially with these individual cells. So you watch out for these. You keep these going. I mean, all the way until about 1 to 2 p.m. You still got these broken up storms starting to drift deeper into eastern Alabama, southwestern Georgia. And then you got this line of storms sweeping through South Carolina again, Georgia. And then these will probably cluster up deeper into the afternoon and slam the low country, probably affect southern Georgia with some damaging winds, some hail embedded tornado risk. And eventually these will get all the way down to Jacksonville, northern Florida. And then we got to watch for more storms that form in like Alabama, Mississippi overnight. And this is getting until like after midnight. And this is the area of storms I want to pay attention to for sure overnight tonight. So we're getting into like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. You got this big area of storms heading like south of Meridian and then eventually getting into southern Alabama. And this is a big bowing line of storms surging through the southern sections of Alabama. And this is 09Z, so this is like the wee hours of the morning, Friday morning, tomorrow morning. So this could give you guys a rude awakening in southern Alabama tomorrow morning. So be aware of that for sure. And then this complex of storms continues to slam southern Georgia again, northern Florida. Okay, so you look at the updraft Felicity swath in this area, and this is between now and this evening. So it picks up on this line of storms, and these individual cells are going to sweep through. You see some more colorful areas. This indicates where there's, in this particular model run, rotation with these storms. Just remember, just because there's rotation, that don't mean you're going to get a tornado. But you see a lot of slashes through Georgia, areas of Alabama, even North Florida, with these storms between now and all the way to about dinner time tonight. Okay, but if you keep this going, yeah, okay, we're good. So if we keep this going, you see these storms. Look at this. This is after like midnight tonight, guys. There's going to be another complex of storms that's going to sweep through southern Mississippi, even through Louisiana late this evening, southern Mississippi later tonight, and Alabama probably after midnight tonight. And they will have rotation and damaging winds with them too. So there's going to be another line. And really, guys, this entire air mass has really not been tapped into. We haven't had storms down here. You're kind of waiting your turn, except, we don't want to wait. We don't want it to happen, right? So deep tropical moisture, dew points well into the 70s. It's air you can wear down here. You can feel that probably something is on the way. And these storms will sweep south. You can actually see how, these storms are digging down, kind of clearing out the air mass. But as these storms kind of dig down, these storms in Georgia will, tap into all these higher moisture levels, dump a ton of rain, right? But you notice dew points like in the mid to upper 70s over here in Louisiana. Storms don't really form this afternoon based off this particular run of the HRRR model. But later on, tonight they will. And you can see that dry air finally starting to get in. This will set up to a more comfortable weekend, more spring-like weekend for areas of the southeast. So you see the dew points kind of dropping into the 50s up here. That's cold front starting to get closer, and we're finally about to be done with the severe weather for at least a period of time. And because of those higher dew points, you have higher CAPE levels. Look at all this fuel building into Louisiana. CAPE levels over 4,000 joules per kilogram, over 3,000 here in Mississippi and Alabama. And you notice there's this weird kind of cutoff here. That is because storms are moving through this area before CAPE can really build in and get very high in Georgia, but there's still going to be plenty, over 2,000, 2,500 joules per kilogram. And you see these little pockets right in here where the CAPE goes from like jet fuel, storm energy to nothing. These are because storms fire up in this pocket of storm energy and then eat up that atmosphere, take advantage of the atmosphere. And then you see the big swooping motion to the north. That is your cold front sagging south and really the air mass really clearing out up here. So last thing you'll look at is Texas. Guys, I really think we're going to get some nasty supercells that form in Texas this afternoon. And, I mean, they even got that look. You see how they kind of are hooking right here, kidney bean look. Supercells will probably develop around and just west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area later this afternoon. By the time you get into later in the afternoon, you'll still have them dancing around out here. Look at this hook. I think these will have the capability of producing some tornadoes. I think there's probably a higher confidence in this than there is in that area in Alabama and Georgia I mentioned. So we got to watch for these cells down here. They could drift all the way down to, central Texas. And then eventually this energy will probably develop into something more substantial in Louisiana. You'll probably get a line of storms that starts rumbling through Louisiana later this evening, eventually into the southern half of Mississippi, and then it turns into that complex of storms we just mentioned for southern Alabama in the wee hours of the morning. So watch out for supercells in this area of Texas today. And same situation, guys, just a ton of moisture in the atmosphere. This will definitely aid in thermodynamics, a high-end thermodynamic atmosphere here. I think Dallas-Fort Worth broke like a dew point record yesterday. It hit like 78, which is like the earliest since, I don't even know. This very, very humid air. These higher end moisture levels will aid in higher CAPE levels, so therefore you have tons of energy in the atmosphere in Texas to fuel some nasty supercells later this afternoon in North Texas. Dallas-Fort Worth area, you could be under the gun with this, so be aware of that. That's all I got, guys. I know it's a shorter one. Sorry to leave everybody else hanging. Just have to get out of here and get on the road here. So definitely stay tuned for updates. We'll see what we'll find. I'll be out and about in Georgia. Might make my way as far west as Alabama. We'll see what happens. God bless all y'all. Be safe, and I'll talk to you again soon.